And I'll give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President. We thank Sierra Leone for organizing this important briefing and for your leadership in keeping the Council's attention focused on the evolving security dynamics in West Africa and the Sahel. We also thank the Secretary General and Mr. Toure for their briefings. We also welcome the participation of the countries of the region, Côte d'Ivoire, Mali, Senegal, Burkina Faso, and Ghana, in today's meeting. We appreciate your statement in particular, Mr. President, that highlights the sense of urgency and shared alarm and underlines the need for bold, collective, and comprehensive action. And we take note that today's discussion gels well with other meetings under your presidency, such as on small arms and the conflict food security nexus. Pakistan reaffirms its steadfast commitment to the independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of African countries, and we stand in solidarity with the people of West Africa and the Sahel in particular, who are confronted with the scourge of terrorism and violence. As a frontline state in the global counter-terrorism efforts, Pakistan has made enormous sacrifices, over 80,000 casualties, and billions of dollars in economic losses. And many of the most notable successes in the international community's collective action against terrorism have been achieved through Pakistan's efforts and cooperation. Having dismantled Al-Qaeda and its affiliates in our region, we nevertheless continue to face threats from terrorist groups such as the TTP, Daesh, BLA, and the Majid Brigade that operate with the support and sponsorship of our neighbor. And the global terrorism landscape has evolved significantly since the adoption of Security Council Resolution 1373. The deteriorating security situation in the Sahel is deeply alarming. According to Global Terrorism Index 2025, 5 of the 10 countries worst affected by terrorism remain in the Sahel. We are also concerned by the proliferation of terrorist threat to coastal West Africa, with cross-border attacks affecting several regional countries. Terrorist groups are operating with impunity in ungoverned spaces in the Sahel, the Horn of Africa, and Cabo Delgado. Al-Qaeda, Daesh affiliates like the Islamic State of Greater Sahel and Janim are actively expanding in West Africa and Sahel, exploiting porous borders, weak governance, and illicit trafficking, and sustaining their operations by fomenting instability. At the informal interactive dialogue on this topic, also proposed by Sierra Leone and held during Pakistan's presidency of the Council in July earlier this year, we welcomed steps taken by the AU and African countries to combat terrorism and efforts to implement the UN integrated strategy for the Sahel. I will make a few points here. As a foremost priority, all nations of Sahel and West Africa must rebuild and strengthen mutual trust to restore confidence and solidarity. This was emphasized by you, Mr. President, as well as the President of the ECOWAS Commission. Close collaboration is crucial for mounting an effective and coordinated response to terrorism and extremism through a collective security architecture for combating terrorism and armed groups that operate across international borders. A multidimensional approach is needed to combat terrorism with a combination of kinetic and non-kinetic actions through a comprehensive approach that addresses political grievances, economic deprivation, and social alienation to promote good governance, social cohesion, and economic resilience. Regional cooperation remains the cornerstone of an effective counter-terrorism strategy. Frameworks such as under ECOWAS, the Accra Initiative, the Nouakchott process, and the multinational joint task force must be strengthened and adequately resourced. AU and sub-regional organizations may also explore partnerships with regional organizations such as the Arab League and the OIC. We welcome the establishment of ECOWAS Standby Force and the continuing dialogue between ECOWAS and the Alliance of Sahel States. These initiatives are reflective of African solutions to African problems. Enhanced integration and coordination will be vital, as also underlined by Mr. Toure. The UN must assist AU-led enforcement missions with equipment, training, and technical assistance to enhance capacity building for regional actors. UNOWAS and UNOCT should continue to support these efforts. Pakistan also stands ready to share its counterterrorism experience, including expertise in intelligence coordination, border management, and de-radicalization. The implementation of UNSC Resolution 2719 must be prioritized. It provides a framework for predictable and sustainable financing for AU-led operations, a long-standing and legitimate demand of our African partners. We must review impact of sanctions regimes that may inadvertently hinder governance and development, and thereby creating fertile ground for extremist exploitation. The scope of 1267 sanctions regime as the only regime to list terrorist individuals and entities may be broadened to address Africa's terrorism challenges that transcend national boundaries. National institutions must be strengthened to address new and emerging threats, the terrorist use of emerging technologies such as the dark web for online radicalization, incitement to violence, cryptocurrency, terror financing, propaganda, and disinformation require coordinated global responses. And we must address root causes of terrorism in Africa, including poverty, economic hardships, issues of governance, small arms proliferation, organized crime, illicit economies, drug trafficking, illicit resource exploitation, environmental degradation, and foreign interventions. This requires sustained investment in development, inclusion, and human dignity to empower youth and women, promoting education, creating livelihoods, and fostering trust in state institutions. Counterterrorism and human rights are not mutually exclusive. Rather, they are mutually reinforcing pillars of sustainable peace. Pakistan's partnership with Africa is deep and historic, having close fraternal ties with West Africa and the Sahel region. We support initiatives that promote political stability and development, and our support for Africa's stabilization dates back to the 60s, with Pakistani contingents having participated for decades in peacekeeping missions across the DRC, Central African Republic, Mali, Sudan, and South Sudan. And we take pride in our contributions and successful endeavors to restore peace in West Africa, including in Liberia, Côte d'Ivoire, and your own country and our friend Sierra Leone. The people of West Africa and the Sahel deserve a future defined not by fear, but by peace, dignity, and development. Achieving this vision requires sustainable and sustained political will, free choices, and independent decision-making, predictable international support, and collective resolve to address the underlying issues. And Pakistan will continue to play its part in realizing this goal. I thank you.